Well, you're stuck with me today, everybody. Welcome to the Backpack Show. I'm Chris Brogan, as you may or may not know. Thank you so much for being here. My co-host, Carrie Gorgone, had a last-minute emergency and was not able to be here with me. But I've got Vanquish Media Group's Chase Friedman, and before even that, he did all this incredible stuff. He's a storied storyteller. So I've got a million comments and thoughts and feelings and ideas and questions I'm going to have for him. I also have live assembly and construction going on in the background. So there could be some interesting sounds today on the Backpack Show. But we got Chase Friedman, so we're going to dig right into it.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to the Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Carrie Gorgone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show. Now, a wonderful guy like Chase Friedman says, yes, he'll do the show. Not quite sure why, doesn't know us per se. And it's like, I'm not even sure what I'm getting myself into. And then he starts hearing things about the fact that we interview dominatrixes and sex therapists and movie theater people. And I said, can't wait to hear about what else is going on in the world. And he's like, yeah, I'm part of that. So we're going to have so much fun. I have lots of questions for him. Hello to my biological father and his beautiful wife, my mother. I'm going to drag Chase on. We'll just get right into it. We'll just start right from here. Chase Friedman, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Where am I? Where am I supposed to be? What is this?
Hell, if you don't mend your ways. That's really what I want to say about it.
How you doing, Chris? Good morning.
This is my favorite Friday so far today. So,
yeah, indeed. Likewise.
What does Vanquish Media Group do for people? What do people buy when they knock on your door and you pitch them?
Great loaded question right out of the gate. For all those early on the East Coast. We're brand strategists, we're brand storytellers, and we like to dabble in a little bit of everything digital marketing. So it always starts with how do you cut through the white noise, the bullshit. Are we allowed to curse on this? I mean, is this like an irreverent sort of, yeah. How do you cut to the BS, the bullshit, in this crowded, marketplace, e-commerce space that we live in today, ads flying at you a million miles an hour. How do you craft that unique, compelling, authentic voice? And how do you share it with the world? Social, digital, paid, influencer, you name it. So try and have a blueprint going into the dark forest before you get there.
So that's it. It's interesting timing for this. I'm doing some work with a software B2B company, wherein one of the biggest challenges is that no one really knows this particular brand. In fact, we sell apps inside of a marketplace, kind of like an Apple App Store for B2B.
Sure.
And a company that's
just
out
not
in
the
Australia.
Death Star. Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
No. So it's a company out in Australia where some people have kind of sort of heard about the Australian company when they went public and all that. And definitely nobody knows who we are. And so we're talking to brand strategists and we're saying, hey, we've got to find some kind of way to get some mind share with people. Right. And I've been equating, with the PR company, which is in a different attack than the brand. I said, though, we have this real challenge because we're like, when you go to the deli and you just say, I'll just take some roast beef. We're saying, well, but we're boar's head roast beef. Or, some people know what the Mustang is and some people know what a Shelby is.
Sure.
And so we're that. Like, we're the premium better than of a lot of other things that look kind of the same to some people.
But
tricky.
How do you growth hack, decades of brand, equity and credibility and awareness to get to be the boar's head or the Mustang? I mean, yeah, sure.
Right. So that's the question. So when you get those kinds of those problems or whatever, when you have I'm your client, I'm across the table. Now what? Where do you even start to dig for that? And what part of that comes from all that makes you Chase Friedman?
It's a good question. I mean, for right off the bat, we try and really hone in on quality over quantity when it comes to our work, when it comes to our clients, who we work with. I mean, there's got to be a passion on both sides of the spectrum, right? So, it's digging deep. It's getting vulnerable having our clients get vulnerable with us. Not just what they think that we need to hear or what their clients need to hear, but what's truly, in their minds and their hearts and their guts around why they started the business, why they think it's so fabulous and great, why they're, putting sleepless nights and countless dollars towards this solution and solving people's pain points. As a late friend and mentor used to say, getting naked in the steam room is kind of how we like to start it, proverbially, maybe not always literally. But you got to get real and honest with who you are, what you do, why you do it. Of course, we're all familiar with the why, right? And we try and sniff out the BS, and not for an accusatory reason, but like, no, let's get real, because customers are savvy. Consumers are really smarter than ever before. They're getting bombarded with stuff and story. So
Right.
don't just come to us with a story, a feel-good pitch line, but the genesis of why you are and why you think you're great. So it starts there. It's just getting real, rolling up our sleeves, getting dirty, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We start with a bit of a brand audit, right? A lot of times with our clients.
Sure.
So, and clients cringe like in all areas of their body, like an audit. I'm not getting audited, but I think it's a necessary thing. You got to know where you stand today, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to see where you're going to go.
So there's a challenge. I mean, my setup was, I said that we're sort of like the boar's head over the meat. It's a fair assessment. Like we're a very quality product compared to other products that are good
Sure.
enough or similar enough. But that's not how a lot of companies come to you, is it? All of them come to you and say that their CEO is basically another Steve Jobs. Their person is another Joni Ive. Their product is like the Tesla of toilet brushes. Like, do you get a lot of that where people really pump themselves up way higher than who they
are? We do. And I will say that it often pans out as you would expect, in terms of either maybe this isn't the right fit. Let's strip that down. How and why do you think you're the next, Steve Jobs? There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of ego and entitlement and all that. But we try and kind of cut and weed through that. And I honestly, some people that are faced with, okay, well, here's reality where you stand in the marketplace, have a little bit of an awakening and are humbled by it. Some, right? And sometimes it rears its ugly head a little bit later. And some just kind of hold fast to that. And I'll be honest, I mean, that's okay. That's great if you have the confidence and wherewithal and bravado to be the next Steve Jobs. But you got to be real and authentic and vulnerable with yourself and where you are, and so that we can kind of get to where you want to be. And unfortunately, maybe not the right fit coming out of the gate, because you're never going to meet their expectations. You're never going to meet the bar to where they think they should be 10x sales in month one of your marketing campaign.
That's right. Because clearly, judging by how super strong and super smart we are, you don't even have to hardly do anything. I don't even know why we even paid you. That always goes.
Yeah, and it's not a knock. It's not like, we want to be like, oh, we don't want to work with you. It's just, I just believe in being open and transparent and agile and nimble right out of the gate. Otherwise, it's a recipe for a little bit of, uncomfortableness and misaligned expectations down the road. So let's get it out in the open first and early before, we waste a lot of people's time on both sides.
So Chase, we started in media res. I put you right at the table. I said, let's go. You're a brand guy now. But, before this, there was the TNT, there was TBS, there's, people. What were you doing for all those people? And what was the world like back then? What was, slightly younger Chase Friedman like?
Slightly before, like, the sprinkling of grays here and kids. Yeah, I mean, this was, I started an independent film and TV, writing, directing, producing, commercial work, music video work. Got spun off into kind of the corporate brand side with video, with digital video. Content is king, was fresh and new, and everyone's, it's a land grab for, we have to create great video for our brands. And so it was pivoting kind of what I always loved about storytelling and using those, those same techniques and that same approach, but to brands and products and services. And so it was branded video, branded content, branded storytelling.
So did you go into that feeling like you were Kevin Smith and you got pushed into being like Madison Avenue? Is that?
Hell yeah. Reasonable? It was like such a sellout, I mean, it was like, I was on the fringe of, starving artist versus, okay, but I'm still, storytelling. I haven't, that's what, that's why nowadays it's like, yeah, we're still brand storytellers, still wove storytellers in there so I could sleep at night. But, the truth is like, that was a way to stay connected to what I loved about, the process, the creative process, is being able to, tell good stories, tell high quality kind of narrative and video, and produce and create and write and direct. But for brands and products and services, it's a little bit difficult, right? How do you make that real and authentic and not pitchy and salesy? And I know it seems kitschy, and sometimes it certainly is. But yeah, there's a little bit of, shit that I sell out, but and maybe I did to a degree, but I love it. I love the challenge. I love stretching different muscles because it's not like I get to sit in the room and write blank, write one page one rewrites. It's having to adapt to whatever the brand and the product is and figuring out what's going to be real and be my own BS meter. So.
For sure. And so that question could sound like a big swipe at you, but like that's everybody's path, right? That's everybody does that. Everybody in the world goes thinking, I'm going to write the great American novel. And no, you're not. You're going to write the great American cereal commercial.
That's right. And if even then, that would be great. The great American cereal commercial. I'll take that. I'll take that.
I have a friend whose dad is well known for a ton of the jingles from the old days, like plop, plop, fizz, fizz, and all that.
Amazing.
Any one of those, I would love to be well known for.
And I would imagine the royalties are fabulous for that.
Oh, they did fine their whole life. Yeah. So related to this, the next thing you know, you make a sort of turn in the road. You start going and doing this other kind of work. You start doing Vanquish. What survived the super ultra creative part of who you have to be? And what became if I don't do this, then they're not going to want to pay me? What's in the picnic basket every time, no matter what? And where do you feel that sort of comfort of like, I'm going to sneak out and do something crazy for a minute?
It's working with people. It's like being on set and like directing, right? You're directing different personalities, different actors, right? You have to speak to them in different ways. Like everyone responds to something different. And so same thing with clients. It's some want to go blue sky and big and out of the gate. And some are like, no. Here's our brand guidelines, stick to it, right? You've got to kind of create and craft a vision that obviously both sides feel good about, but shepherd that through the best you can with who you're working with what that client looks like. And it's just about communication. It's just about people and emotional intelligence. And I'm an accidental entrepreneur through and through. Like I never, intended to go into starting kind of a branding digital marketing agency. If anything, it was kind of by a little bit of, opportunity and luck and preparation. But I think it's just adapting to what is given to you and trying to be a good steward of, hey, we agreed on this creative and this story, and I think it's going to work this way. Killing your babies or your chickens to be a little safer when you need to, right? And making sure that at the end of the day, there's going to be a give and take, right? Hey, we really believe this is going to be great for your brand. We get that you might not see it yet, but can you trust us a little bit? And figuring out where that balance lies.
I feel like throughout the history of all of these moments in content and storytelling and all that, there are things that get dragged in because it's in the zeitgeist or whatever, and someone desperately wants to be the other one of that. To me right now, it would be anything Ryan Reynolds has done. Like, can you please make us funny like Mint Mobile or something like that? And then maybe that's not true. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, so other times it'll be, we need to be cool like those, like Wendy's on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
What are some of those, like, what are those, like, you have to immediately disavow the customer. This is not how we do this.
It's a great question. I don't know if I come to the no, this is not, right out of the gate. It's kind of like, okay, we hear you. Again, similar to kind of, the filmmaking process, we need a Tom Hanks type for this film. Okay. But you're like a micro budget indie, drama. Like, you're not going to get a Tom Hanks, but a Tom Hanks type, or maybe, so you got to find the comp. You got to find what is achievable and reasonable and realistic and authentic for them, right? Everyone's going to strive toward that North Star. I saw this ad. I love this campaign. Let's pull threads from it. All right. Let's unpack it. Let's reverse engineer it. Let's figure out, what do you like about it? What are they doing really well? What's innovative? But most of the time it's unique and disruptive, which in a world where everything is repeat. So how can we be unique and disruptive for you? How can we be a little bit original, a little bit of your own secret sauce, but still be your brand, right? Don't try to be somebody else. So we hear you. We got you. We hear you. Let us come back to you with that a little bit. It's a let's walk before you run, and a little, let's go on a few dates before we get hitched and tie ourselves to this, Wendy's Twitter feed idea.
Longstanding media professional Robert Collins asks, how do we secure our brand on Meta? He figures that might be one of the ones you're being asked these days. Are you already having to design legless floating bodies right now or anything like that?
it's really interesting, even just seeing meta as like in a question and like in a serious tone. I mean, it's bizarre. So, meta, I was just speaking with a client the other day who's already buying, real estate in the metaverse, they're like, oh yeah, I'm opening up my digital studio right next to, gosh, who was it? Like Atari, or like Atari, like in the real world, Atari, like no, in the metaverse. I'm like, okay. So there's already apparently this land grab of obtaining your footprint, your real estate, your land grab in the metaverse, right? So that, according to Mark, in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, when we're all just living ubiquitously in the metaverse, we're walking down the street and there's Atari and hey, there's Jeff's coffee shop, how do you establish your brand? I mean, it is early days, but I would say there's going to be some of those NFT metaverse kind of amalgams where you're investing in kind of digital properties. But at the end of the day, I think it's not a whole lot different than what we're doing right now in this kind of crowded marketplace. Start with story, start with brand, be intentionally disruptive, not just to be shock and awe, but it's you got to have some intent and authenticity to it.
Even in literature, art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas if you simply try to tell the truth, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without ever having noticed it, said C.S. Lewis, says Bob Collins.
Amen.
So Chloe says, I love the way that you you described reverse engineering and breaking it down so that you can look to incorporate some of the elements within the client scope. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yes, that's definitely it. The Bob, by the way, Bob said, I didn't ask that in a serious tone at all. I was, being funny, which is why
thank you. Because I try to answer it in a serious, like, I kind of want to be like, this just happened. I have like the truth is I don't think anybody knows. I don't think Zuckerberg knows. It's a good look. That's a really good question that I think a lot of people are going to be asking. And if anybody like myself tries to give you, like some degree of an answer, there's probably a lot of lucidity and guesswork in it. I don't have all the answers for sure, but that question in and of itself is meta, isn't it?
It is. In 2006, I got onto Twitter and I was immediately like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. Like Twitter's a thing. People, hey, look out, everybody, Twitter's a thing. And everyone said no for I don't remember how many years. And then you can't watch news without there being someone's tweet as part of the news now and all that. So
yeah, I mean, I know it seems flights of fancy right now, like Blade Runner and everything like that. But given the machine that is Facebook, they're gonna make it. They're gonna will it into existence, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately,
absolutely. I have the Oculus Rift right here, just waiting. I've been
boom. There you go. You're
messing around with that a little bit more. Joel says we need to get back to face to face. We feel like that.
Amen. Joel. Yeah.
But reading Snow Crash may help. Says Bob. So hero protagonist at all. Listen, we're going to put you backstage for 60 seconds. Got to do some ads. This gives you a chance to do whatever you need to do in 60 seconds, though. Don't go crazy. But thank you so much. Chase Friedman will be here with us still. Don't go anywhere. I just have to do 2 things. This, and then say, hey, want a show like this? You can get one. Go to cbrogan.me/StreamYard, and you can have your own video show. Super easy to run, even if your co-host has to run for an emergency. Want an audio version of the show? We've got one. It's anywhere you can listen to a podcast. Just look for the Backpack Show. That's hosted via castos.com. Really great podcasting software. They're swell. Matt Medeiros is a friend of ours and he runs it. We have the Backpack Show .online because we're sponsored by .online. So if you go to cbroga.me/online, you can use the code Chris in all caps, please. And you can get your stuff on there. And I think this is the last time we're reading for this one, but presearch.com is if you want to stick it to the man and not use Google, you can use a really cool crypto search engine, which is decentralized. You can do a whole new thing that's not just the same old typical search. So presearch.com. I am going to grab our pal Chase Friedman back and we are going to reconnect. Chase, a lot of this stuff, Joel's opinion was kind of like, screw it. I don't want to have anything to do with the metaverse and all that. And you're saying, which is true. Like it's going to take us a little while to get there. I want to layer in digital stuff. I want to layer in metric stuff. I want to lay in that it used to be good enough that you could just tell a great story. Now they're like, show me some numbers. What are you doing as a technical marketer now, or a technical media maker? Even though you're on the branding side, which means luckily you don't have to measure as much. What do they make you
we
measure,
do.
and how are you doing it?
No, it's a good question. That's part of the that was the snowball effect when it was just me, myself, and I at Vanquish consulting and doing, you know, branded video and content. And the question started to become, all right, well, what's next? How do we share this with the world? How do we, you know, how do we get it to our audience? What does that mean? What's the ROI on this investment? And that's where you snowball and layer in things like, okay, well, let's look at kind of your digital footprint, website, social media, paid media, um, all those different things. You know, we try and have a balance of left brain, right brain, where as creatives we like to get with the content and the story, we have to geek out with the data, kind of validate it and rinse and repeat, right? So, you know, we, for most of our clients, we put together a custom performance dashboard that integrates, you know, website, social, paid, email, what have you. So you have a pretty good cross section of what's happening, you know, when you put out a piece of content. You know, how are we trending? How are we ticking? You know, click through rates, views, you know, cost per click, CPM. So yeah, we have to be a little bit beholden to that. Otherwise, it's kind of ignorant. We don't try to be like slaves to the data. I don't believe in it. But you got to be informative and optimize with the data. So you know, it's, look, with video and short form and everything becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. You know, it behooves you to look at, you know, things like watch time and engagement time on a video. We've studied across thousands of videos what's the optimal time for an intro, or, you know, a call to action, or an outro, or a product reveal, what have you. Like, there's a little bit of science behind digital content to try and, you know, grab the audience as soon as possible and make it engaging and effective while still being creative and not formulaic. So it's a juggle.
How are you measuring your TikToks now?
Is that another meta question?
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, I'm being only 2/3 serious, but no, I mean, like every new platform that comes along, everyone's asking, you know, how does that change my brand? How does that, you know,
Yeah.
what do I need to do differently? Should I be on there? Should I be like leading up
So,
new dances? What do you do with that stuff, Chase?
I mean, the thing, look, honestly, like, I'll be honest, I'm not on TikTok. And I probably won't be, out of like self-preservation of, you know, just being on all the things. But no, we have a lot of our clients on it. Honestly, I do think there's a lot of merit to TikTok because it's newness, it's freshness, right? It's not, we don't see it as oversaturated, overrun by paid in-feed ads like we do at Facebook or IG or,
Right.
it's a little bit more purist now. You still got 1 billion users, which is crazy. And I think what's great about it is, you know, the whole tribe mentality, right? These are tribes of interest groups and people with very kind of specific niche interests. And there's a way to target that. And we've seen organic growth on TikTok posts far more exponentially than anything lately with, you know, again, the traditional powers, Facebook and IG. Like, it's pay to play, period, on Facebook. Try and grow organically, not going to happen anymore. TikTok, you can still get a little bit of that virality, a little bit of that organic traction, because it is still a bit newer, a bit more fresh, but you know, definitely going with a bit of a strategy.
Landing a client with an incredible budget is it, period, right? Like, you know, that's a great day for you. Everyone's got the budget, your employees get to eat, you don't worry about your mortgage, all that. What else besides that gets you super jazzed? What's something that lands on the desk that you find yourself like at nighttime waking up to pee and going, wait a minute, what if? And then you go run and grab your notebook or something like that. What's that part of the work for you right now, Chase?
That's a great question. And by the way, big budgets aren't always, you know, the I mean, it's great at first, and then it can become a little bit of a burden. But uh what gets me what am I thinking about when I get up to pee at night? I think is the question. Yeah. To be honest, it's right now, it's a little bit of self-reflection about like us and what we do and how we're doing it, how we're serving our customers. We're always last in line to do what we do for our clients, for ourselves, always. You know, our brand strategy, our best practices, our social, our website, our storytelling. So I'm spending a lot of time trying to kind of self-reflect and like evolve and grow who we are and what we offer and what we do, and become clear with that, because I don't have time during the regular day to focus on it. It's all kind of client work. So it's a little bit self-serving, to be honest, to try and be bigger, better for our team, for our clients, and where we want to go.
I don't have Carrie here to hold me back or make fun of me for this. So I'm known sometimes for asking a real long setup question for not that much of a question, but I'm going to do it because she's not here. And I just realized something else too. I never get to use this, but I totally get to use this. Ready?
And this question comes all the way from the second stall, the men's room at the Home Depot, just outside of Lansing. You know, I've never been able to locate a restroom at the Home Depot. Not at once. I just go in the drywall aisle. No one's around.
Tim Kitzrow, the voice of NBA Jams and NFL Blitz and all that, the guy who
No way.
Boom Shakalaka.
No way. That was that
him.
Voice?
Yeah. So he came on the show and he became our friend. Then he goes, "Can I make you guys some like stuff?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, "What?" And I go, "I don't know." So I gave him like 2 sentences. He gave us 15 minutes of audio that we're still to this day chopping.
I grew up on NBA Jam and Blitz. And if you ask my brother, that was the only video game in history that I could beat him in because it was rigged.
Well, then listen, I'll give you just a couple of audio clips completely out of format like this. Just listen for a second.
Oh, for God's sake, stop talking. Let the woman speak. Yellow card Brogan. Well, what else is new?
And then I got one more for you, and then I'll stop doing this. But I'm thrilled to death, so here's one.
Guests of the show stay at the inconveniently located from downtown or anywhere, never to be confused with luxurious and never updated FDR Hotel, located somewhere off Highway 84 near an old gas station with a burned-out van parked out front with a for sale sign.
He just made these up. He like literally I gave him one sentence. He gave me like 5 minutes.
The sky bucket. He's heating up. It's like, I remember those those are awesome.
So I'm going to scrap my other question. I was going to scrap the way I was going to ask the question because I just really wanted to talk about something and now I don't have to. Tim Kitzrow, that kind of a thing. He is known for the rest of his life as the Boom Shakalaka guy. You, if you ran up and saw him on the street or something, would love to feed him back some of his own lines and he would be happy and whatever. What do you want that to be for Vanquish? What do you want people to walk around after Chase has, retired and now you're on your yacht? What do you want them to be saying?
He's on his yacht.
Oh, like a lot. Say that many times. Have you seen that yacht?
He's on his yacht. It's a great yacht. That'd be pretty dope. No, legacy talk. I think like you said earlier, whether it's the cereal box jingles or what have you, but was there, thanks Joel, what an awesome guy. And Robert, smart. Love the commentary. I think look, I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where it's like, hey, that Super Bowl ad, that was you guys. That was awesome. I mean, that'd be awesome. But truthfully, like, it doesn't have to be just something big and bold just because it aired on the Super Bowl. I think if it's memorable and lasting, I'm like, that was really that. I always remember that. I always, the character in that, or the scene, or the way you put it together, something about it. It doesn't need to be for a huge brand, but something that sticks with somebody emotionally and can move them, joy, tears, happy, whatever. Like, that's why we do it. And that's why we make movies and TV, right? To move people with emotion. I think that would be amazing, and something with recall and staying power. But at the end of the day, I think it's a little bit more of an interpersonal level. If a client can say to me, I am just super proud of where our brand has evolved and where we are today versus looking back where we started, like, this is my dream. Like, I love that. I love being able to educate and empower people, like, in their dreams. And like, I kind of get good feelings and good vibes from that, because it's like, okay, I've done my job, and someone else feels good about it as well.
This is such a chewy softball question, but who comes and knocks on the door, or like what category type or what specific brand or business knocks on the door and says, here's my thing, make this better, that makes you lose your mind? You're like, oh my, you're calling everybody, Dave, you're not going to believe that. Like, who would that be?
Like, who blogs it?
What brand, or like what client, or what brand, or what category, like, Matchbox cars, whatever.
So I would say it's got to be some folks who are a little bit misaligned or disoriented with, they think they've got something. They're a thought leader. They're an influencer. I've got this really cool thing I got to share with the world. And it's just kind of either you're 5 years too late, or, you've just started and you haven't really built something yet. I think it's a lot of that, solopreneur, where you're seeking that instant gratification and fame and influencer status. And, I'm going to be the next, Tim Robbins or whatever it may be, but you've got to put in the work. It can't just be, I've done a few blogs and podcasts, or, I've done the book. I mean, there's a lot of people that we work with that are meriting of that. But we get a lot of people pitching us saying, hey, here's this one thing I did. Can you make me an Instagram star? Right. No, not yet. And then out of protection of our society, probably won't. And you shouldn't either.
Yes or no, could you fix Yahoo?
Who? What? Can I fix Yahoo? No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, I think it's one of those Kodaks, Blockbusters, et cetera, of the world that didn't innovate quickly, fast enough, agile enough to keep up with the, who, the other big brother in the room.
I'm with you. All right, we have a few things to do to get out of there. Here's one of them.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
Tammy must be like, oh my gosh, it's that Kitzrow.
I love it.
It's a real toss-up. Everyone's making lots of comments. So Mr. Collins, I'm going to give it to Mr. Collins. So he's person of the day. Good job, Bob. Could have also given it to Joel. So I might as well just put them both up. You guys could share an apple. Person of the day is entitled to one free apple. You just have to go to a store and buy it. Carrie, we're here. She'd say, well, make sure you clean it up. Now you're person of the day. Now we are at this part of the show where we've asked every guest that's ever been here the same question. What goes in your backpack? We have had people like Sadia Trujillo come in and say, you got to be an avocado. If Carrie were here and I said, hey, Carrie, what's a good idea of something physical you could throw in a backpack for the future? She would say an extra set of teeth, because that's what DJ Cummerbund said. He liked pro wrestling. That's the only thing we can imagine why he said it is
okay.
He also liked pro wrestling, and he did a really great Macho Man impersonation. Extra set of teeth. If I asked her what was something metaphorical you could add, some people had said things like, grit and determination. And Ariel Helvetica, who is a burlesque dancer, she said kindness. So my question to Friedman, what on the earth are you going to add to the backpack for people's success, either physical or metaphorical?
So let me just preface, I'm psyched by the question, because when I first, obviously saw this, heard about the show, watched the show, again, to reference a former, a late mentor friend of mine, he always used to talk about the backpack, right? What's in your backpack all the time. And he's a prolific mountaineer, mountain climber, Everest, Denali. I mean, this guy was survivalist, the ultimate Renaissance man. So he was literally and figuratively what's in your backpack, but it was more so about what's not in your backpack, right? It's what are you carrying today that you need to just empty, to get out of your backpack, to just, let go of the stuff. So I think it's as important, if not more so, about what's not in the backpack and evaluating what you're carrying on a daily basis to get rid of it, purge it, free yourself. So if it's that last thing in the backpack for me, I mean, I think it's got to be a little bit of staying power, again, as he would say it, where it's like shit gets rough, shit's tough, the staying power to persevere and kind of get through it no matter what. If I could pull that out at those moments where I'm feeling just low and defeated and why go on and all this, it's like, this is why, right? I got to keep pressing forward. And if I get I know that's already too many things, but compassion for, yourself, for other people, for why you're doing it, just kind of a little bit of compassion, going easy on ourselves. We're in this constant crazy hustle rat race. And I don't think any of us are giving ourselves enough sort of compassion to just say, hey, we're doing good enough right now. That's okay.
Chase Friedman, I think I'll take those answers. I think they sound good enough to me. I was thinking about the fact that you had all of those other brands, though, like L'Oreal and People and all that. My grandmother and I used to read through People. And one of her favorite parts of the whole magazine, and I never thought of her as an especially catty kind of person, but one of the things that she would do all the time is we'd get to this one section. I mean, but you gotta